The fabulous mix I see in this woman, and I try not to weep, is the combination of her desperation and her certainty. Her desperation and her certainty. When do we ever act on that mix? Take a moment and think in your own life. A friend recently reminded me that faith deepens where our resources end. Right? Where we cannot think or manage or strategize our way out of something. Faith happens where our resources end. Accidents happen. Biases come back later. Relationships disintegrate. Careers reach dead end. Trusted others betray us. And yet in each of these, it can bring to us a holy desperation. In the best sense, when Annie and I talked last night about surrender, that's when we look up. When our winning formula, as we used to call it in the 70s, when what we normally do doesn't work, that is a sacred moment we look up. So we see how we get the desperation. The challenge is, how do we get her certainty? Where do we find that certainty that she had that this was the guy and that this was the action and all she had to do was touch the hem of his garment? The grace of it all is that this certainty is already laid out for us. We don't have to make it up. We don't have to develop it. We just have to cultivate it. We hear the certainty that we need. We hear it today in our scriptures in Isaiah. We are taken back to God reminding us that for all the wonderful things I have done for you, get ready, I'm about to do a new thing. Can't you see it? Look alive. Pay attention. Be awake. We hear it in recounting the ways in that psalm that God has always taken care of us, not because we deserve it, but because that is God's promise to us. And we think, especially in that psalm, about the whole question of being still. We made jokes last night about multitasking. But for those of us who have had some experience, we know that one of the most transforming opportunities one can ever have is the chance to be in significant silence with God for a while. And I'll come back and say a little bit about that. But the human tendency to hunker down on a problem, to like dig in, to make a fist, to say I'm going to solve it, very often our certainty comes as we let go and we surrender and we trust God and we cultivate that. Now this mix of qualities, this urgency and this desperation, this sense of priority, it has to be cultivated because everyday life will wear it away. We just can't stick with it. There's too much in the dailiness of it. So we need the cultivation of remembering God's promises to us and hanging out with people who will remind us when we forget. So 3 things to take away, perhaps, from our time together today at the Eucharist and from this woman's story. First of all, I would ask us, who would we be in that crowd? All these people clustering around Jesus, following him around, going from town to town. Would we be the crowd who really is just new to it, but doesn't really trust and not too involved in what's going to happen? Would we be the disciples who are doing the right thing, who are protecting Jesus, who are hanging around and trying to make sure that his message is protected, but they really don't get it? They did not really get in our modern language. The disciples did not get that Jesus was a game changer. This was a brand new thing. This was not business as usual and accommodated by their past categories. Is that us? Would I be that person? Echoing the Isaiah passage, God has done a dramatic and scandalously new thing in Jesus. And as we press in on him, are we aware of that? Are we aware of what our love could get us in that encounter? So one thing to think about is, who are we? Who would we be if we had to be a character in that crowd? Secondly, where is this woman in us? Where is that part of us that just on the hearing about Jesus would bring our most critical problem to him? If you think about it, she didn't test him first with a small problem. She didn't take a little thing to him to see how he handled it. She didn't get to know him. She didn't try to watch him in the crowd interview. She did not ask him for his resume. She brought the thing that was most critical to her life at that moment with all of her instincts. She said, "This will solve my problem." The question for us is, am I keeping that about which I am most desperate away from Jesus? Am I taking the thing that is most intimate to me? And today that could be so many things. That could be Haiti. It doesn't necessarily have to be a sickness in our body, it could be a sickness in the world, but it is the thing which is most pressing to you. Can I tell Jesus the whole truth about exactly what it is? And trust that if I do that, if I break the rules, if I'm not a nice girl, if I don't play by what I've been told is the way to do it, can I trust that Jesus will look at me at the end and say, "Your faith has made me well"? And the third question I would throw in, and this is just what your imagination does with Scripture. I wonder who this woman became next. What happened to her? She's got 12 years of internal muscle building, right? She has suffered and she has grown and she has learned to trust, and now she's made well. I can't imagine that she went back and became a kind of typical everyday woman. Who did she become next after Jesus healed her? And if it is an inside job, Romans 8:28 is accurate. If we really believe that all things work together for good to them that love God, that's not saying that every minute I'll understand how this fits, but it means that I live as if I believe at the end the mosaic will make sense. I've been thinking about this sermon since October. And I've been writing in my mind, and of course I changed it all after I heard Andy Rob last night. I want to say there are a lot of different things after I heard her. I was so inspired. But one of the stories that keeps sticking in my mind has to do with what we actually ask God for. This woman asked God for everything. God promises us that we have that access. And yet we know that we don't always do it. We know that we don't always ask. But the story that's been sitting in my mind is a story from my experience on a retreat. I did a 40-day silent retreat with the Jesuits in Canada. And I had a tiny nervous breakdown on the 7th day. They're everywhere. No radio, no TV, no Blackberry, nothing, right? So on the 7th day, you kind of lose it, and then you're present. You really do. And toward the end, I had this remarkable experience. Toward the end, one of the spiritual exercises the St. Ignatius is, the director said to me,